If you want to finish first, put yourself second.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Charm Connections. This is Romy from Charm Logic, and today we have the incredible guest, Dr. Odie, a best-selling author, speaker, and powerhouse behind Inspired Results. Known for his high-energy approach to personal growth, edutainment, Dr. Odie makes learning both fun and impactful. His expertise span health and wellness, stress management, public speaking mastery, and effective networking, helping countless individuals conquer their fears, strengthen relationships, and lead more successful lives. He's also the author of books, Eatology, Work Your Network with the Four C's, and Fear Forward. Beyond his work as a coach and speaker, Dr. Odie's signature ABCDES system, attitude, breathing, chiropractic alignment, diet, exercise, and sleep has helped people transform their lives. He was featured in Breakthrough Movie, a film inspired by his mentor, Dr. John F. DeMartini, and he's set to release his own documentary Inspired in 2025. Today, he joins us on Charm Connections to dive into the world of presence, connections, and personal branding, how to craft a magnetic presence, build authentic relationships, and position yourself as a standout brand in any industry. Welcome, Dr. Odie. How's the weather? And what do you do? This is what I'm just kidding. These two questions are usually the common cliched questions. But I'd like to actually ask, what's your perfect weather? Where would you rather be at this moment other than where you are? And also, how did you get into the field that you're in?
Okay, so I'm coming to you live from Abu Dhabi, and honestly, this every summer, every summer we sometimes wonder what are we doing here. Feels like you're living inside of a God. I mean, I hate to say it this way, but an armpit or a volcano. 'Cause it's nasty. It is nasty.
Oh, really?
But but in the winter, like right now, this is paradise. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
What's the
I'm
weather
still in
like
the sea.
at the moment?
Oh, it's in the 20s.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in the
beautiful.
20s, about, yeah, that's a 25 on average. And the water is about 20, 21 degrees. I swim there almost every morning. The cool sweat. It's a nippy swim, but it's enough to wake you up and juice you up in the morning. Yeah. But yeah, this is a place I'd love to be. Although I believe the best place to be is when you're doing what you love. So, uh, I could be on an airplane out of here in no time, and I won't be complaining at all. Because as you know, I love speaking and
Yes.
teaching.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. No, thank you so much for sharing that. Just to respond to that, I am in Edmonton, Alberta, where it's currently minus 37 with wind chill. So it's Celsius, Celsius. Yeah. So it's
The one thing I don't miss about living in Canada, right? I don't think it gets as cold in Toronto as it does in Edmonton, but I mean, I've experienced weather that cold, and it's not it's not the funnest. It's not my best choice, sure. So,
well, I've heard Toronto also, it doesn't get that cold temperature wise, but because of the humidity, it can feel pretty bad too, right? So
yeah,
um
and with the wind chill, I mean
it's always
oof,
disgusting. But
I prefer
deeper.
extreme heat over I prefer extreme heat over extreme cold any day.
Oh, really? Um,
Yeah,
how so? Like, I'm curious.
it gets hot here. It hit
Yeah.
it hit close to 50 degrees Celsius. So
So the others.
with the air conditioning, yeah, with the other extreme, with air conditioning, you don't really feel it. You go from the house to the car to the mall kind of thing. But with the winter, it's tough because you got to dress
That's
and you
true.
dress up and layers and all that kind of stuff, and accessories and hats and gloves and all that jazz. We just came back from skiing, so
Yeah, yeah, I heard, which is wonderful. No, that's super.
I don't miss lugging all that stuff around.
I guess you look a lot. You look a lot less in warmer weather, right? So awesome, awesome. So yes, the four C's is something that I would love to get into, but I would also like to get into understanding kind of what is the ideal outcome for you in currently what you're doing
Ideal outcome in terms of
in terms of basically the four C's right now. I know that you have different systems right now. You're also doing a lot of public speaking, writing a lot too. What do you want to the message that you want to send out to the world and globally?
yeah, I think the message is that there's effective networking and there's ineffective networking, and I've experienced the extreme end of ineffective networking growing up. I mean, it was tough. I mean, I remember my dad when he first walked into my clinic that was teaming with nobody. He said, he basically said to me, son, I love what you've done with the place, but it's missing one thing. And I thought everything was in the right place. And he said, this one thing that you're missing is patience. It is empty. And I knew what that meant. I meant like I got to do something about it. But my whole thing was, you wait for people to come to you. You don't get out there network.
Mhm.
And that was my first mistake, according to my dad. And for me, networking and public speaking go hand in hand. So the idea of going out there means you got to be speaking. And so not only did I not feel comfortable meeting large groups of people, I didn't feel comfortable speaking to them, let alone just small groups. I mean, people don't realize this. I was so terrified as a public speaker that I would be intimidated just going to my own reception area to call the next patient to come into my house,
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
you know?
What
So
was what was the fear, I guess, in situations like that when you first started?
yeah, I mean, I have a thing and that I heard from Dr. John DeMartini, I remember many years ago, that I've been sharing ever since. And that is that when you're nervous about speaking, you're thinking of yourself. And when you're nervous about networking, you're thinking about yourself. But if you shift it, like you said, what are the outcomes that you're looking for? When you shift it and you realize that there could be an outcome for someone else
Mhm.
that's struggling with what you're struggling with right now, that's out there networking, looking for a solution, or that's in the audience looking for a solution, the focus is shifted from self to other, and you just step up your game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. That internal focus to the external, um, it becomes actually less intimidating for some reason. We're always thinking about the judgment of others towards you versus the other way when you're actually trying to give out something that you think is of value that can help people. And definitely, in my own experiences too, with my students, there has been that side where people are in different phases of life that always need some form of help, and you'll always have some sort of experience that you can offer to the crowd. So but no, thank you so much for sharing that. So yes, first one, I'd love to jump straight into the four C's if you don't mind. Actually, before that, your upbringing. Would love to learn a little
Okay.
bit about that. How you became a chiropractor. I know that's a long way from your upbringing to chiropractor, but give us a little, 2 cents on your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to mention right off the bat that people think I'm a chiropractor that became a speaker and writer, or what I like to call a spriter. I speak and write, but I was a spriter first. I actually spoke and wrote before I even graduated chiropractic school. Yeah, well, so we can get into that later if you want.
Yeah, yeah, of
But
course.
how I got to chiropractic school, I have various versions of the story. So I'll give you the extended version.
Sure,
Any part you want to double click on, we can expand on.
for sure, for sure.
But yeah, it started in I believe that my real life story started when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
So at age 21, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's not a sad story at all. I'm not sure if I shared this with you before, but my sister, who's a medical doctor, didn't want me to self-destruct. And she said, you'll be okay. And I thought that was sister talk for, just don't kill yourself, kid, but this is serious, you know?
Hmm.
And I wasn't the kind of kid that you would catch in a library. Although I was in university, University of Toronto, I hated university. I thought it was a fancy word for more school. And I was the kid who had no intention of going, to pursuing higher education. In grade 12, I remember specifically telling my sister, when we're spending time with their friends on a boat, we just visited their log cabin on the lake outside of Toronto. And I said to my sister, how do you live like this? And she knew exactly where it was at that point in my life. The kid that didn't want to go to university. And she said, well, there's two ways. You can either go to university or sell drugs. So I said, what kind of drugs are we talking about here? And of course, that's when I went to university. When I got to the big house, I realized it just meant more school. I couldn't believe that I was learning biology. I was like, I thought you'd be learning rocket science or something. I mean, we took biology before. I didn't listen, and good I took it again. But so I was the kid who struggled in school. When I got to university, I got this diagnosis. I thought it was the end. I had no internet back then, of course, so I couldn't research it. I know someone who died of this form of cancer, and it was so hard. Not so much on me. I'm not saying it wasn't hard on me. It was, but it was hard seeing my mom struggle with the idea of me possibly dying, especially my mom, my whole family, but especially my mom.
Yeah.
And then I remember being in my room, Romy, and I heard a lyric from Bob Marley. It's from a song called Pass It On. And the lyric goes, live for yourself and you live in vain. Live for others and you live again.
Mm.
And I was like, it resonated with me. And but I didn't know how to unpack it. I didn't really understand what it was. I just knew that this lyric was speaking to me. And so I racked my brain days and days. And then finally it hit me. And I realized that what I can do with this quote is I can get straight A's on my final exam because it was just before my second year finals when I got the diagnosis.
Huh.
I didn't think they were going to make me write the exam, but they told me that I had to write them.
Yeah.
And so I was undergoing radiation treatment while writing the exam. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to get straight A's on my finals because my family would never believe it. And it would be the perfect get in the event that I died. I could just see my mom and my family looking back and saying, look at this kid, this guy who didn't see A's, who got straight F's in grade 11.
Wow.
He passed grade 11 PE only because his teacher didn't want to see his face again. And so I got straight F's and an F off or an FU in PE. And now this kid got straight A's. I was like, this is the perfect story.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I got the A's to their surprise and mine with great difficulty. Okay. But I got the A's. It went from impossible to difficult and maybe even borderline easy. You'll see when I get to the point at the end. And this is when I learned this incredible life lesson that I've lived since, ever since, on a daily basis. And that is that if you want to get an A in life, and if you want to finish first, not better than anybody else, but the best version of yourself. If you want to finish first, put yourself second. Because I couldn't get the A's for me, but doing it for little mom and for family made it almost too easy. Like I said, it was difficult because I was undergoing treatment at the same time. So I was vomiting between, turning the chapters, right? But I ended up, doing something I never thought. I'm the who is it in the Wizard of Oz? Is it the Scarecrow that has no brain?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brainless.
So I was
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
I was that guy that didn't think he had a brain. I was just the athlete that thought that I could just,
Oh.
make it in sports, but not in the academic world. But that's what happened, and that was my gift. So if that's the impact I want to leave, on this world, is that to think of others. You got to think of yourself. You got to know yourself, and I knew myself at that point in time. But
Yes.
once you know who you are and what you're here to do, then you could focus on others.
Incredible, incredible story, and couldn't agree more. If you want to finish first, put yourself second. That's such a wonderful saying. And after having my own son, who's turning 4 pretty soon, definitely it's a shift of, I guess, purpose too. Originally it has been always that, on yourself. I think a lot of these type I'm not a type A, but I'm all about confidence and presence and stuff. So a lot of times it's like give me the limelight. But like after having my son and working with a lot more people, I found that when I focus on them, it actually shines even more light on me naturally, right? It's not an intended thing, but that putting yourself in second and really putting yourself in service to others, I think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
That's it. That you just struck the chord. That's exactly what it's all about. It's living a life of service because there's nothing that compares to the feeling of serving other people. Nothing. I mean, I'm telling you, I know you've experienced this probably, and I bet your listeners have too. That you go to work with a headache, and then there's a patient there, a client there, a colleague there that needs you, or whether it's your kid at 3 a.m. who needs you. You snap out of bed, your headache's gone.
Yeah.
It's completely gone when you shift the focus to other,
Yeah.
and you completely immerse yourself in service. Then all of a sudden, you get past yourself. But if you're just focused on self, it's hard to get past yourself. It's hard to get past that headache.
Yeah, that's so
You know?
true. Even physiologically, yeah. Like things actually shift. It's not just a mental thing. A lot of times, like people might take these messages as a fluffy kind of idea, but it's like if you actually take that step to try to serve others, and it can just, like you said, start from serving your family. You can be like even servicing to your friends. Then you can talk about like people that you don't know that you might be able to benefit, but start from something little, and maybe you can step towards that next step, right? So
Yeah. And when you take care of other people, there's no greater feedback that you could ever receive. There's no ice cream you could lick that tastes as good as that or it feels as good as that. I'm telling you that right now.
I'm
When
trying to think
somebody,
of
I
it, but
believe,
no, just kidding.
yeah,
But yeah.
I'm trying to think. Well, there might be some flavors that are pretty damn
Yeah,
good, but
that's
I'm just saying that to move forward, it really requires feedback. And when you get that kind of feedback, that kind of appreciation, that kind of, hey, you changed my life, you touched my life, I'm forever indebted to you. That's what keeps people going. That's what keeps nurses going, doctors going. That's what keeps
yes.
teachers going. That's what keeps entrepreneurs going is when clients give them those glowing testimonials, right? That means so much.
Totally, totally. Like what you do for them definitely created an impact. I guess that links pretty well to the first C in your four C's, which is the competence side, like developing the skills and how to, have these abilities to help other people. Like how did you build that up in terms of the public speaking side and having enough courage to connect with people?
Yeah. I just want to let you know that I'm hearing some beeping in the headphone in the headset here, whatever you call them, the earpods.
Okay. Okay.
So the battery may die, and if they do, I can pop them out here, and they're also yeah.
Okay.
Um. So your question was about like how do you build confidence?
Correct, correct. Competence. Yeah.
Yeah. What I think might be useful for your listeners is just to explain what the four C's are for short.
That'd be good.
Then we can go, yeah, and then we can go into
We'll dive.
cool.
Sure. 100%.
Okay, sure. So the way this story starts is that we've been taught that people will only do business with you when they trust you.
Mm.
And of course, people won't do business with you if they don't trust you, which means that trust is the cornerstone. It's the foundation for which business relationships are built.
Yeah.
That is not entirely true. It's an incomplete picture. And I believe a fractured model. And I'll explain why. Because see, if the number one reason why people refer business to you was because they trusted you, then your number one source of referrals would come from the people who trust you the most, your innermost circle of family and friends.
Mm.
While it is true, if you're a little kid and you open a lemonade stand, your number one source of referrals are going to come from your family, your friends, your neighbors, and relatives. There's no doubt about that. But beyond maybe the inception stage, the early period of a business where people are injecting money into it, or people are actually buying your coffee and your croissants, you're going to eventually get to a point where you're going to realize that business doesn't come from the people who trust you the most. They represent a very minuscule and insignificant amount of referrals.
True.
So if trust is not the cornerstone, right? What is the cornerstone? I believe there isn't a cornerstone. There's cornerstones, and trust is one of them. And this is where the four C's comes in. So if we're going to work trust into the conversation, it's going to sound something like that. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Um, so it's going to sound something like that. People need to trust you are confident in what you do. That's the first C. People are not going to do business with you if they perceive you to be incompetent or you don't reach or cross that confident threshold that they need to get the job done. That's the first C. Now, of course, competence gets your foot in the door, gets you an appointment, gets you a referral. You're sitting with someone because they perceive you to be competent, because someone referred you. However, now they're dealing with you not on a professional level of competency, but they're dealing with you on a human level of credibility. And I call credibility trusting you on a human level, whereas competence is, if you want to use the word trust, trusting you on a professional level. And so now they're sitting with you and you want to know, do you value human relationships? Are you playing, do you honor playing fair? What's your integrity, et cetera, like as a human being? All right. But people who are highly competent, highly credible, you probably network with them, you probably, interact with them and it's socially, and you realize that they are missing the third C, which is clarity of communication. You couldn't help them if you tried because you don't really know what to say to open doors for them. And you might not even understand what they do with precision. And they have what I call a vitamin C deficiency in clarity.
Nice.
Now, the fourth C is called connectivity, and connectivity refers to the quality and the quantity of your connections. And when I shared the fourth C with a royal family member in Bahrain, a sheikha, she said to me, Odie, this might be the most important C of all.
Mm.
And see, connectivity it looks something like this. You network with people and you see this person over here seems to be very highly connected. Not only do they work a room, but they associate with people that you would want to associate with. And there's a natural tendency when you look across the room and see this person. So I was telling you about the fourth C, connectivity. So when you perceive someone to be well connected, you naturally have an increased ambition to want to connect with them, because it's human nature to want to be connected to those who are well connected, because those who are well connected automatically, or at least increase the probability of you being connected. So if you take it back to the village days, when you know that guy in town seems to know everyone else in town, he's naturally going to be able to point you in the direction of solutions left, right, and center.
Mhm.
And if I compare that to the opposite, someone who you perceive not to be well connected or perhaps disconnected, a lone wolf, you may make some assumptions about that person, right or wrong, but nevertheless, most people will assume that this person isn't worth connecting to. And so when they stand up and speak in front of a room, that's when people go to their phone. That's when people mentally check out. But
Yeah.
when the person who's well connected is presenting, you you know his message or her message doesn't fall on deaf ears, because everyone wants to tune into what they're saying. So to kind of circle back on this last C in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, when people perceive you to be well connected, they want to rub shoulders with you. It increases the probability of them doing business with you, and it increases the probability of them wanting to refer business to you.
That is
So these are the
incredible.
forces in a nutshell.
Super. We'll definitely dive into each. But I just want to say that I learned something already that I can use, which is put the fourth C first. So it is, like you said, the most important one. People might see it the other way. I feel.
Romy,
Yeah.
Romy, I got to cut you off only because
Oh, okay. Sure.
I'll leave it up to the listeners to decide what the most important
Okay.
C is.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Because it might be the C that opens the door for you when you're networking,
True.
for sure, right? But then I don't really necessarily want to necessarily, or I'm not. What I'm trying to say is there's not necessarily a right order,
Order. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly.
right? Because we don't know what's going to come first. Clarity might be the first thing that shows up. Someone hears you first time. So, but what I want to do say that people always ask me, what's the most important C? And I would say on an individual level,
Yes.
the most important C is your deficiency.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Just like the most important wheel on a car is the flat tire
Yeah.
or the one that needs air. You want to maintain all of them, but
Exactly.
you definitely want one that's costing you
Exactly.
the most, and one that could potentially, therefore make you the most by investing in that seed.
Yes. So it could be any of the C's. And I guess how I should rephrase what I said earlier is I think the last one for me at the moment would be the most powerful one if I explored it first. I have created these experiences and networks, globally, but I've never had the thought of putting my associations or people that I know first. It's like the people that I've connected with that can provide a wealth of information to my listeners, my students, my future connections. If I started out that way, people will, like you said, their ears will perk up. It's not a competency thing anymore because I'm already speaking to them. So I think they already believe me to a certain standard. And on a human level too, I think I'm quite, connectable, but then again, that could be my own fulfilling prophecy. But I think just letting people know that I have a resource of people that I've worked with, I think is a magical thing too for them to have. Yeah.
100%. That actually brings me to, you asked me about like what's my vision with the four C's in terms of outcomes, etc. So we've created what I just shared with you right now is what I call the discover stage. So it's helping people discover what the four C's are. And what I'm going to share with you is an acronym that's DNA. So
DNA.
D is discover the four C's through education. I just shared what the four C's are.
Yeah.
The N for DNA is navigating the four C's through assessments.
Mhm.
And that involves a self-assessment where you'd rate yourself. How do I perceive myself when it comes to these four C's, these four cornerstones in networking? And then what we've created in 7 languages now is a peer-to-peer anonymous assessment where you could, invite your group to participate,
Yeah.
and then you would get an anonymous assessment done by your peers, whereby you're now able to see where you stand in their eyes.
Mhm.
Imagine that your vitamin C deficiency was clarity. Then clearly you think and let's say you rated yourself high, then you would perceive yourself to be high, high level clarity communicator, but they're not perceiving you be that way. And that might be the very reason why referrals aren't coming your way.
100%. 100%. The disjointedness of what's in your mind to what's being perceived is can be
Yes.
very different. And I think that's probably the most powerful thing when you can access how people perceive you, because not everyone can give an honest or truthful feedback. Be it that they might not want to hurt your feelings, or they don't want to take that extra time to just reach out to let you know. And the thing is, business will suffer. You won't make that connection, right? And you still won't know. They might not be promoting you, or they might promote you negatively to outwardly if they don't feel comfortable with you either. And so, no, that's such a powerful thing with the DNA. So,
Yeah, and you're right, because not only are people sometimes reluctant to give transparent, radically transparent feedback,
yeah.
but many people, even though they ask, may not be ready for it. The saying from A Few Good Men, you
Yes,
want
you
the
can't
truth,
handle the truth.
you can't handle the
I
truth.
know. Oh man, Jack Nicholson. That's epic. Well, that movie, I don't think I remember the rest of the movie, but that part I think has become a cool meme that people have been using too, which has been wonderful. And that's the truth though. It's people don't have that thick skin to accept sometimes who they are, because they think of themselves as a certain personality or a certain being already. And when people kind of poke holes through it,
The bubble.
yeah, yeah, and it can be really painful. But no, like, I guess if we kind of dove into the general perspective of what the four C's are. Again, if we can start maybe in the first one again, the competency. Like, how should someone develop that other than vocationally, like improve what they do already in their business? Are there other things that they can level up in terms of competency?
Yeah, let me just to complete the
Sure. Hey.
acronym for DNA for people.
Oh, yes.
D's up to the four C's through education. N is navigate the four C's through assessments, self and peer. So you know where you stand in your eyes and the eyes of others. And then A is apply the four C's to grow your business, or apply the four C's to grow other people's business by becoming a certified four C's expert.
Nice. Nice.
And that is being developed. So what I don't want to do on this call, because we're still developing the frameworks, is
Yes.
share with people how to actually build each C. Although I can tell you that when it comes to competence, this is the problem. And this is what we have, Dr. Ivan and I, in the original Work Your Network with the Four C's book. It's now being uh, developed into four new books that I'm working on. So we spoke about the idea of competence, actual competence versus perceived competence.
Mm. Yeah.
Because many people want the trick on how do I get others to perceive me as competent, right? So what I like to start with is, how about you develop your competence first? Because once you start developing your competencies, you're naturally going to attract people that want those problems to be solved.
Yeah.
And you need to learn the art of communicating your competence in subtle ways, so people understand that this person is functioning at a high level of expertise in their particular job.
Yeah, and totally agree with you in terms of, yeah, there's always that perceived to actual. I think there's that, how can you create less discrepancy between the two?
Right.
For me, like my field was in photography originally. I've been in the field for over 27 years now. And when I first started out, there was definitely a lot of fake it till you make it, because you need to get the client. And it wasn't hard because you can just buy most of your equipment from the local electronics store, go out and shoot on the weekends and start just creating the portfolio. Like you said, the lemon stand situation. So it's like family members, friends, like supporting me. And but it's not that. They trust you, but they don't really even see you as fully competent, but they wanna support you. But then it's like, if you put yourself into it, into the grind of developing the skill set and actually getting better, naturally your portfolio gets developed, you get more experience, you actually know how to talk to people better, you'll start attracting people outside of that circle like you mentioned, so definitely a great point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole paper tiger idea, right? That
Yeah, yeah.
you see yourself as this highly competent person, roar, and then someone just goes, and then you just
Totally.
crumble like a house of cards because you're all you're a tiger that's made out of paper, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So you definitely need to develop it from the inside out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Developing your competencies, upskill, develop those experiences are going to allow you to to be more confident and competent so that you can then start offering solutions when you're networking. You can start saying, oh, this is what I found works better. I don't think that's the best approach. Here's why. Because you have those experiences. Otherwise, you try to fake it till you make it. And maybe in photography you can, because you can, touch up the pictures, or the camera does the work for you. But in some professions, you can't actually do that.
Yep, yep.
Like you
Health industry for sure.
someone's yeah, you give someone a bad haircut, even though you
No,
talk,
that's obvious.
everyone's gonna see that, hey, you weren't that's who cut your hair? Okay, I know who to avoid.
It's
Even though
like
he said he
unless
loves it, he's great at it.
yeah, unless the buzz cut's kind of what you offer, then maybe that's not tough to do.
That's it.
Yeah,
If it's a zero, I mean,
yeah, exactly. Always in the zero setting. Yeah, start with point
I think I
five.
could probably do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. Then I guess that in the in the touch points of credibility, clarity, and connectivity, like is there we won't dive totally deep into it because like you said you want to go through that DNA process with people, but like is there one thing that people can do in each that can level them up right away? Like I know the competency side, it's like definitely work on your craft and just go into it, but how about credibility, clarity, and connectivity?
Yeah. So I mean, with credibility, if I was only going to give people kind of one thing to start working on, that's the idea of um, integrity.
Mm.
You know, integrity is self integrity, integrity that's self centric. In other words, if we're only talking about the one person, the one cell, how can there be integrity within this person? Integrity, as opposed to, as a concept that refers to integration.
Mm.
So you don't disintegrate.
Yes.
What I would say is keep your word to yourself.
Ah, that's powerful. Yes.
Right. And then integrity with others, external integrity, would be keeping your word, following through with other people. Keeping your word with others, or following through with others.
Yes.
You say you're going to show up, show up. You know, so that would be the one thing. But like I said, I'm still developing all these frameworks, and when the 4 books are done, we then turn it to a certification program. But we're almost there. We're just doing some final touches. So I want to make sure that I don't share something that we end up taking out.
Of course.
Um,
Of course. Yeah, yeah. No worries, no worries. And what I think it's probably from your own experiences, like I think you are boiling it down to these really essential points that people can take away with these books, right? And but I think what's really fascinating to me at least is your experiences that derive these 4 C's for yourself. Because obviously you've used these 4 C's to make these wonderful networks that you've created. And that in itself, like keeping your word to yourself, like that integrity side is, I think, probably for some, like for even myself, to a certain extent, certain things like waking up and just doing my blanket or folding it up, just keeping the word to myself sometimes can be challenging. What do you like? How do you deal with things when it becomes challenging? That's a question of mine. Yeah.
when it comes to integrity,
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. So I people think that I like to swim in the cold. So I've tasted Canada in December in terms of a freezing cold shower, and that was, I mean, you could hear me. If anyone was in the vicinity, they would have heard me scream out. I've tasted the cold in Georgia, a cold shower in December,
Wow.
and in Armenia this year, same thing in January, very very cold. Okay, but people don't understand where I came from. I was the guy that would buy a gym membership to swim,
Hmm.
and if the temperature dropped to 27 degrees,
Yeah. No, 27.
cancel my membership.
Oh, wow.
I had membership at the Officers Club in Abu Dhabi, and the water temperature is too cold. And I'm talking like it needs to be 29. It was like warm. That's warm for most people.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'm at the point where I swim in a 21 degree. I'm literally the only one swimming in the sea almost every day. There might be one other person or two other people, some of the Russians that are visiting or
Yeah.
some Europeans, they can handle it. But it's still for me.
Yeah.
I can't just go in without thinking about it.
Ah.
Like I go to the shore and I think to myself, hey, you've done it before,
Mhm.
got this. I put my feet in, and then I'm like, my feet have already adapted, so my whole body's
Mm.
adapt. And then I say to myself, there is no going back. So I actually just keep moving. So I'll put my feet in, I'll keep moving. The water starts to rise into my knees, into my thighs. I, clean off the goggles, put them on my head. There isn't a going back.
Mm.
It's literally like I'm burning the bridge to the shore. And then I just dive in, and I think in my head, I think I got this from my son because in sports it's always like let's go now. So I just think to myself, let's go. And right after let's go, as soon as I hear the oh and go, let's
Yeah.
go, boom, I just dive headfirst
Oh, wow.
and I'm in. It's there isn't a discussion to be had. There isn't a negotiation to be had. It's not like should I or shouldn't I? It's we've committed to doing this. We're doing this. Let's go.
Wow. That's powerful. That's really powerful.
See, I do this with everything. Okay. I got to be honest with you. I don't think anyone does. There's times when no, I don't want to eat. And then I have something. Okay. Even though I wrote a book on nutrition and I'm pretty damn good at, fasting when I say I'm going to fast. There are times when I really feel like an energy drop. I want to finish writing a book and I made a commitment that I'm not going to eat tonight. I'll eat some because I want some brain fuel to get this chapter done
Yeah.
for hitting the sack.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's crazy that like you formed kind of a trigger word too. Like that how specific it's like the O and the go part, like let's go. It's I think yeah, I would suggest also people that are listening to figure out what is that word for you. Could be let's go. I think that's a powerful word, but for some it could be, something else, maybe in different languages too. But it could be, their son reminding them of something too that really pushes them, or their mother, a family member or a friend. But yeah, you're gonna say start. Yeah.
But I was just gonna say real quick that "let's go" is usually something you say as a celebratory thing.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you're down 5-0 in a hockey game or a football game, you score a goal, and then
Let's go. Yeah, yeah. Totally.
let's go because you're trying to rev them up to do more, right? Which is so I'm doing it on the front end, you know.
No,
Although
totally.
someone could argue that stepping, me going to the beach, stepping into the water is like the first goal, second goal. Now I'm just kind of pumping myself up for more. So, but for me, it's more of a starting point.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's really my starting point to dive into the water. That's what gets me head. That's why I literally go head first. I don't walk in. I
Oh,
don't.
you go like head, actually head first.
Yeah, as soon as it gets to my thighs, before it even reaches my
Bro.
shoulders, we're in speedos, so it's not. It's like about mid.
Uh, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Well, I guess that's another thing too. Like your starting point, has your starting point got closer to the water as you challenged yourself? I'm curious.
Um. Well, I think just what do you mean exactly? Just I don't want to miss it.
Because it mentions some people think that even getting to the beach, let's say, is their starting point. But for you, like that's already like brushing your teeth, waking up in the morning. That's not a big deal anymore until you step into the water or
Yeah. So when people, it's interesting. If I just take a step back, when people say to me, what do you do? Like you work out, I basically tell them that I start my day with a gym swim.
okay.
So first I gym,
Yeah.
then I swim.
Okay.
So just saying that to people over and over again, that's what I do. It's like people brush their teeth, put on their clothes. I do that, and then I gym and swim.
Okay.
And so the gym is not really a negotiable thing. If I have something more inspiring, I won't go to the gym. I'm there almost every day, so I can afford to miss a day or two there.
Okay.
Just take time off, you know?
But it's got to be really important.
Yeah, like if sometimes a book comes in, a book edit comes in, and I just can't wait to crack it open. I'm like, forget the gym. I may go in the afternoon or at night or just do some micro training or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or I'll just kiss the gym goodbye that day and this swim.
Okay. Okay.
And there's times when also I don't do it it's not just routine for the sake of doing it. It's the way I activate my mind and my body and energize myself for the day. But if I don't need that extra juice, then I don't need it. Like next thing you know, it's time for bed and I didn't do it. I didn't need it.
So you won't also like punish yourself if it didn't happen.
Not anymore. I used to.
I used to. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to, if I didn't wake up and run when I was training for my marathon back many years ago, if I didn't wake up and run in the morning,
Yeah.
then I would have a freezing cold shower at the time when I didn't like the cold,
Oh, wow.
and I would run in the heat.
Okay.
And sometimes I wouldn't allow myself to have any food until after work.
So is that a form of kind of punishing yourself for not completing something?
That's a form of me punishing myself for being out of integrity with myself.
Oh, wow. Then what kind of transformed that into something that you understand to kind of forgive yourself if you were feeling that you did something wrong? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not really about forgiveness. It's just about I want to try to bring this habit, put this habit into my life because I know that it adds value to my life. I know that if I end up giving myself some negative feedback, if I don't do it, then I'm more likely to do it. But now I'm at the point where if I don't swim in gym, I'm not worried that I'm going to stop forever. I know that something better came along.
Yes.
I stayed up really late because my cousins were over. I haven't seen them in years.
Yes.
So the next morning, I'm not going to get up at the usual time.
I mean,
Just not going to wrong with that. I'm not a robot.
yeah, exactly. Speaking of AI, no, just kidding. We'll jump really quick. Yeah, but that's the thing. When you've developed something that you want to have in your life into a habit, then you can start opening up for more opportunities that might be at the same time. That's kind of what you're sharing right now, right?
Yes, and at the same time, I'm not I was gonna say addicted to my habit. I'm not the habit doesn't have to be a permanent thing. I mean, in the summer, it might not be gym swim when this water is 40
Mm.
degrees Celsius. Although I used to swim all year round when I used to do my long distance swimming. I may change that to something else. I don't know what I'm gonna do this year.
That's so true. Like people kind of get not stuck, but they get into their habit and they don't receive anything else anymore because it's comfortable to be in that lane for a while. But there might be something better that might be available uh,
Yeah.
that they're not taking in, right? So
And you know what a lot of people forget? Romy, people forget that it's not being an entrepreneur that makes you your own boss.
hmm,
You're your own boss your whole life.
yes,
Maybe not. Maybe when you're 4 years old, you're not your own boss. I mean, you could play what you want to play when it's your playtime, but when parents say, "Hey, go on the car, you're going here, you're going there," I get it. You don't have control there,
yeah.
but we are our own boss.
Mhm.
So why I choose, what's in my routine, what's out of my routine. I choose what works for me, and nothing's set in stone. I mean, the only thing that stays the same is change. So
Yeah, that's a great saying.
yeah, so there's no point in being rigid and being inflexible because then what? I mean, I only punished myself or gave myself negative feedback, which is I'd like to phrase that way better. Um, because I was trying to set that tone in place because I wanted to get the workout done in the morning so I could then focus on at the time I was treating patients. So I could have a full day of patients. Didn't have to run in the afternoon. It was very hot. Didn't have to run at night because then I could socialize and network. So that was my punishment to bring that into the morning when it was difficult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, so I think you've like kind of unpacked a lot because a lot of people are in different phases of kind of what you just shared, in terms of starting a habit to being in the habit to how do you kind of there's kind of this reprimand when you don't hold that task and create a habit out of it. But then also after you've created the habit, how do you open up for more opportunities because there might be something better. But yeah, there's a lot to learn in that whole like last 10 minutes that you just shared. Then what would you suggest people like like for me, it's hard to figure out kind of when to. Well, it's not hard, but it's like when to be really strict with yourself, but also to be more open for more opportunities. Like, how do you find that balance?
Hmm. I don't know if you can. I think you're naturally as a human being, naturally going to choose the greater opportunity.
Mm, yes.
The one that serves your interests to the greatest degree. So what we call in my world of coaching, the DiMartini world, your highest value. So if for example I go to the gym because that's my priority to go to the gym, but then I run into which just happened just the other day, I ran into a CEO,
Yeah.
a group CEO, and he's like, "Man, can I have a few minutes with you? I'm about to get my hair cut. I'd love to talk to you." And I said, "Sure." In that moment, I chose him over the gym.
Yeah.
And we ended up speaking for like 30 minutes, and my workout was cut in half.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
It wasn't like I got in the car thinking, "What are you doing? What an idiot. You promised yourself." No, I was like, if I didn't want to talk to that person, I probably wouldn't have. But clearly, I jumped at the opportunity and I lost track of time. He lost track. He was late for his hair.
Exactly. Yeah, which is great. That must have been a great time then, if you lose
Yeah,
track.
he said I have 5 minutes and it turned into half an hour. And his appointment wasn't half an hour. So I clearly he was late for his appointment. And he told me I like to keep my appointments. And so he was out of integrity in that moment too. But we both chose something
That's
that was more meaningful at that time.
that's
What the heck's wrong with that?
nothing. Nothing. That's so
Only a robot would keep going. Only a robot would not, pause and shift to an opportunity that could take it to the next level. Who knows? Maybe robots would be programmed to do that because that's
for sure.
but you can't be rigid. And it's not about being I don't know how you can be open. I think you stick to the routine that you have.
Sure.
What we're all trying to do is get into a rhythm that works.
Yes. Yes.
But it's not like you have to be open to the new things coming along. They're going to come along, and you don't whether you're open or not. You're going to stop what you're doing and go to them if they're more valuable than what you're working on naturally. And Anthony Robbins said something really. Tony Robbins, as most people know him, said something really powerful. Many years ago, when I heard him, I can't remember if he was speaking or if I read this, but he said something along the lines that when you have a lot of structure in your life,
Mm.
you will naturally crave variety.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And when you have a lot of variety in your life,
No
like
structure.
you've been traveling around the world, you want structure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at that phase now, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're always going to be at play, these forces. And whether you're open to them or not, you're going to be pulled in both directions.
No, incredible, incredible. Curious as to when you connected with that CEO for the 5 minutes that he was willing to give you, how did that scenario come about? And what I teach with Charm Logic, a lot of it is presence. Like obviously there was an attraction there that, made you guys have that interaction. And
Yeah.
how do you approach something like that when you see someone that you feel like you can make a connection with?
What's so fascinating is we spoke before the new year.
Okay.
So I've known him for many years, kind of known of him.
Mm.
He's known of me, and I ran into him at the gym, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "I was just thinking about you. I was just thinking that I need a coach, and then you crossed my mind. I just turned and you walked in,
Wow.
and I was like, man, hey, I got your message." We ended up speaking briefly. He said, "Hey, let's connect in a couple of days." Nothing happened. Months went by, and then that morning, when I went to the gym, I thought about him. I'm like, whatever happened to him? He was coming in as I was coming out, and he's like, "Oh my God, I got to talk to you. This is amazing. I was just thinking about you."
Crazy.
Yeah,
Law of
sometimes it's
attraction.
circle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of moments do happen that way. But again, I also think it's you have to keep these things in mind for it to actually pop up in front of you or for you to notice. Because I don't think it's sometimes he could just be walking, another 2 feet away from your vision and then you would disconnect. But because your mind was on it, like right when he was in your vicinity, you're able to like pick that up, right? So
Right, but you know what else is interesting?
yeah.
I should have mentioned that between those two, the time when I met him and then we didn't talk for a while. And then the time when we sat down and actually spoke for 30 minutes, from 5 to 30
Yeah.
minutes, there was an in between where I actually saw him again. But it was just, hi, how you doing? He wasn't open to network. He wasn't open to talking. He was with his fitness trainer. Right? And I had my workout on my mind, and I wasn't really. I kind of read the signal from him that he doesn't really want to talk.
Yes.
And so I was available, but he wasn't.
Yes.
And so yeah,
There was a timing.
you can't force these things because I know a lot of sales guys force it. Well, like, hey, I contacted you and you didn't respond, or I have sales friends of mine who say I contacted this guy several times, doesn't respond. I'm like, his lack of response is the response.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
But they don't get it. Yeah.
stop hounding the guy. You don't need to follow up. Yes, I don't follow up support and networking, but if you read the signal when someone doesn't ask for your card, right?
Yeah.
And you stick, this is something Ivan's taught many times, and you give him your card anyway, you know?
That's worse.
That person didn't ask for it. He doesn't really want it. He's probably gonna do nothing with it.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's a nice card. Yeah, but
That is the same in the follow-up, in the sales follow-up or networking follow-up world, where you follow up with someone and you don't really feel it.
yeah, yeah. It's like this is something that I talk about in my program too. It's not only what you say is important, but what you don't say is as important. And how do you figure out when someone doesn't say something? Like, can you pick up, are you aware? Yeah, exactly. The cues. Like, are you aware to, or are you sensitive to these things? Because if people actually can see that you are sensitive and aware of these things, they're more likely to connect with you because they know you know when to leave them alone. It's not that you don't connect with them forever. It's just that, now is not the perfect time for both sides, right? So,
Right. I'm not sure if you're thinking about it in this way, but I can give you an example of that where sometimes you meet someone and they're normally huggers, and
yeah, yep,
and then there's times when they give you the stiff arm,
yep. Oh yeah.
and they might not be feeling well.
Yes.
They may be conscious of their breath.
Yep.
They just might not be feeling it that day.
Yep. Yep.
And so they give you a fist pump or just a handshake,
Yep. Exactly.
and so be it. But that's a cue that it's important to read. And a lot of people just miss that completely, and they think, oh, there's something wrong. Like, what happened? They take it personal, or
I know, and it's not just in hugs, even though, like, I totally understand. I'm a hugger, but I do right when you approach, you can tell from the body language of the other individual if they're kind of trailing back or they, put out the fist and stuff. It's a big message. I'm be like, oh, okay, okay. Right away, it's like I teach my students right now to just meet where they would come in, let the other person lead initially, but go in with it. When you handshake, some people just don't know strength. They go wacko on it and just like friggin' like crush your hand as hard as as they can. But it's like some people actually want to do that hard handshake, then go with them if you can.
try to match it.
Yeah, yeah, match it, but don't overdo it either. Because I feel people actually sense a lot of connection when you can connect with them that way. Same thing with the hug. If you see someone reach in, I know sometimes you might not, maybe, in religiously or spiritually too, that's not a thing that you do, then of course, like,
Right.
be respectful of those things. But and even also, man to woman too. There's, different nuances. I find in professional settings, it's always good to reach out with a hand if, they don't want to connect because, like you said, they could be sick too. It could also be just,
It's reasons, yeah.
yeah, 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 for various reasons, right? So,
You said, just to circle back to what you mentioned, which is a good point. You got to read the lead, right?
yeah,
How they lead is important, And so if you see them leading with a fist pump, then you meet them there. And sometimes you get mixed. You get your Ceebos crossed. I added in there.
if it's a rock paper scissors thing. So when they do this, I just go. There's a bunch of those. It was hilarious. I've seen a lot of them where there's like snail. There's like, yeah, different thing like sushi and stuff. But no.
Hand.
Oh yeah, you shook a
I
hand.
was just gonna say, I shook the hand of a former NBA basketball player today.
Wow,
And
wow, incredible.
he was a big guy,
Big hand.
big hand, strong hand.
Like, wait, but you're a pretty tall individual though. Like, was he?
Well, no, I mean, I'm talking about Rick Foss.
Wow,
I mean, we played with the Lakers as we
fantastic.
mentioned,
That's incredible.
Kobe and Shaq.
Yes.
So he's He's not Shaq's height, but he's
Pretty tall.
yeah.
Like, are you 6 feet? Like, I think you look.
Oh man, I'm barely 5'9". This guy's 6'7". I'm
So full head to higher.
maybe easily a head and a half.
Ah, wait, so when you meet people like that, does it, it's some like celebrity that is close to you. Like when you meet someone important that you would like to connect with, how do you approach something like that where you've never connected with them before?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he we had something in common. Was I he asked me where I'm from, and I said I'm from Toronto. I grew up in Toronto, and he said I was born there. I said, "Get out, all the yells." I said, "Fellow Toronto boy." Yeah, and he's like, and then I said, "Tell me about your product," and he told me about the product that he's doing, which is something really incredible. And I was like, "That sounds awesome. It'd be great." And I said, "Do you have a card?" And he's like, he started shuffling for one, and I found mine, and he's like, "You know what? How about?" He took my card, and he said, "How about you take my details on the phone?" And yeah, I said, "It'd be great to keep in touch with you because he's living here." I said, "You live here in Abu Dhabi?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Great. It'd be great to stay in touch."
That's so cool and so chill though. That probably happened in like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, he's a
Yeah.
lovely guy. I was introduced by someone uh, who works in that space that this guy was in, that Rig was in. Yeah, so it was an introduction. It was a lovely meeting, and who knows where it goes. I'm actually been brainstorming because whenever I meet someone, I start brainstorming. Okay, I know what this person does, and I'd love to be able to help this person,
Yes.
right? But at first, you want to get to know the person, right, and find out exactly what they're up to, what kind of connect do they want. So I can't really make introductions, but I'm starting just to prepare myself with people in that space so that I could, perhaps make that connection when the time is right.
It's like what they are looking for. How do you like support them right off the get-go kind of thing and be interested in what
Yeah,
they're doing? Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. But at the same time, I believe that people are assessing the four C's consciously,
Yes.
unconsciously. So I don't expect him to make a referral my way. I mean, I wouldn't imagine now he sent me a message saying, "Hey, I know a place that needs someone to speak on team building." He doesn't even know me. Just like I'm not going to make that connection. But once we both, you know, understand where we sit in terms of these four C's and we cross that threshold, that's when the floodgates of referrals can open.
Yes, yes. That's so cool. Like you need to be, I think, brave enough to look outwards. This comes back to when we, first started this conversation. It's not focusing the inward side, right? Like from you being intimidated to just approach your desk at your clinic, to now being able to speak in front of so many people to connect with people. I think it takes that courage, to step forward and to be okay to not worried about failing. You talk about that fail forward and stuff too, right? So yeah, tell us about like how, just a quickly, like how failure, I guess, has propelled you forward, or how you treat the idea of failure.
Yeah. Well, I share Jeff Bezos's idea. I've discovered recently that he thinks of it the same way that I do and a lot of my mentors do. And that is that there is no such thing as failure. I mean,
Mm.
failure, you can call something, the only reason why you call something a failure is if you got nothing out of it.
Yes, yes, yes. There's value in it, but yeah.
Yeah. But I know UFC fighters, for
Mm.
example, that choose a fight that they know they're going to lose.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because what they want to do in the sports in the UFC world, in the mixed martial arts world, they call this being taken into deep waters. So they know that they can never hire a wrestler to push them. They can't wrestle themselves or wrestle their dog to a level that someone can push them. So what they do is they sign up with a guy who they know is an expert at wrestling.
Mm.
And that guy's not going to spar with you for nothing. So you sign up, you take the fight, knowing full well that the probability of you winning is slim to none.
Wow, that's crazy.
But this person now takes you to deep waters, teaches you how to swim in the deep end. And now, as a result of that loss,
Yeah,
in quotes,
you gain.
right?
Mm.
Or that failure, you now just stepped up your game. So how can you call it a failure?
Oh, so cool. That's such a cool concept. Taken into deep waters. I never thought of it that way. I've because I play competitive sports and badminton specifically. So I know that, playing with like national level players does level me up to another standard because their focus, skill, experience is all very, very different to, the people that I usually play with. But to put yourself consciously in those moments, into these challenges, it's kind of like you when you put yourself into the cold water. I think it's also that, like, actually not deep waters, but taking yourself into cold waters maybe. But yeah, has that happened? Yeah.
Cold and deep,
Yeah, cold and deep.
shallow end.
Has that happened for you, like, personally, where you're putting yourself in these challenges too in business?
Oh my goodness, all the time. I
Okay.
mean, I'll give you an example. I was hired by a hotel group, by a hotel GM, and he wanted me to deliver a talk, a team building talk
Yeah.
that we decided to call a no manuals, no agenda talk. So he said, Odie, I basically want you to talk to my team. It'll be in the presidential suite overlooking the golf course.
Wow.
And you're talking to my C suite. And I don't want you to come with any manual. I want nothing written on the wall. And I just want you to walk in and just talk. It's the first time I ever delivered something like that. So I just basically walked in. I said, hey guys, what would you love to talk about today? They fought, they cried, they laughed,
Yeah.
they hugged, they connected, they disconnected.
Yeah.
And they said to me, this was one of the best team buildings they've ever experienced in their life, one of the best workshops they've ever experienced in their life. And they loved it so much that they wanted to host other companies to run that kind of workshop, no manuals, no agenda workshop in their presidential suite.
That's incredible.
Nothing came from it because my sales team at the time and their sales team at the time couldn't sync up.
Oh,
And so it never really happened. But
okay.
the idea was it really pushed me. I mean, this is like assemble on the fly, right?
Wow.
It's like
That's great.
it's trying to figure things out. It's what's that phrase? You build an airplane on the way down.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. On the way down too. So.
Yeah, you just jump off a cliff and you start building it before it hits the ground, like you see in cartoons, and all of a sudden, whoop.
Yeah. That last moment, kind of.
So
Wow, that's
that's something that I took on where I could have said no. I mean, this is I have a set structure, I have whatever. So now I'm pretty flexible when I do my workshops for companies.
yeah.
I don't really care how it goes. I'm not. I get I've had PowerPoints crash.
Yeah.
I've had they want to completely change the topic.
Oh wow.
I've even changed the topic in the middle of a presentation.
Yeah.
Hey guys, look, clearly, this isn't about upping your communication skills. This is about fears because you guys are afraid.
Yes.
So let's just switch the topic.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Wow, that's crazy. Because yeah, like obviously, speaking globally, internationally, there has been these tech moments, or even content moments where they want to shift, and you get to learn pretty quickly to how do you deal with those situations. How would you suggest someone brush up on skills in that, other than I guess putting themselves into these scenarios, but sometimes they don't have these opportunities, and how can they level this skill set up?
What skill are you talking about? Is it the ability to
Deal with
not be
pressures.
prepared?
Yeah. I
Uh,
like have that opening and be okay to figure out on the fly, kind of.
yeah, the only way you can do that is you gotta actually put yourself in those kind of environments.
Mm,
It's not that you don't know what's gonna happen. Like you walk into your workplace and you go through the same routine, say hello to the security guard, walk up to the secretary, hello, go to your cubicle, say hi to the people next to you. That's the same drill, for lunch,
yeah,
the same, Tim Hortons guy, whatever.
yeah,
And you talk to the cashiers and you do your thing. And so that routine is not gonna present any opportunities. You got to take yourself, you got to be a fish out of water.
yes,
To go back to our analogies related to water, you got to get out of your comfort zone, as they call it, and put yourself in positions where people are going to ask you stuff on the spot. You might take a Toastmasters course. Toastmasters, you do something called table topics, where they just ask you to, off the cuff, share something in a certain amount of time. You got to
yep,
try to fill the air.
yeah. That's start.
So that comes with time. It comes with time, and it's not something I don't think anyone's mastered, because it could be a situation where um, I'm now uncomfortable.
Yes,
Oh, I
yes.
mean, I can tell you for a fact. Thank you. I can tell you for a fact that if you overcome your fears,
Yes.
and what I mean by that is your conscious fears, because there's always going to be fears you're not conscious of.
Hmm.
I delivered a talk in Arabic.
Oh, wow.
Just to give you two stories, the terrible, the flop, and then the not so bad.
Yeah.
The flop was I was on prime time Arabic television in 2000, I want to say 6 or 7. It's on YouTube. It's quite funny actually. You see me with my long hair, slick back. My hair was a mess, and they actually did that in the studio. They didn't want me to go on air the way it looked.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, but before I got to the studio, Rome, you got to hear this. Before I get to the studio, I was so nervous. I
Okay.
was like terrified. And so to calm my nerves, I ordered a large mushroom pizza, extra mushroom pizza, the whole pizza. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get a call from the producer, and he said to me, Odie, we're going to be on the air in like 15 minutes. Where the hell are you? I said, man, I'm not far.
Just having to be there.
I'm just having a pizza because I'm so nervous, man. And he's like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Just come on here. Get over here. So I get in the studio and I said, listen, do me a favor, Kodak. Uh, tell me what you're going to say. Tahed, excuse me. Tahed said, tell me what you're going to say before we go on air.
Okay.
And he said, blah, 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 in Arabic. And I said, I didn't understand a word. Not a single word.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I said, you can't do this to me, man. Look, do your thing, do your classical Arabic that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But at the end, drop me a word, just one English
Or
word.
like a keyword.
He said, yeah, keyword. He said, blah, 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 Canada. I knew he was talking about me growing up, chiropractic in Canada. And yes, that was nerve wracking, that experience. But then after writing Fear Forward and applying the techniques,
Yeah.
I was invited to speak to a group of 70 women in Arabic.
Wow.
And my wife was like, can we, like the night before, can we practice a few Arabic words? I said, no, I'm okay.
I got this. Yeah.
Like, she was like, so what's this word? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
Good out.
Like, I don't get you. The day of the event, just like, she's like, oh, you look at this room.
Yeah.
Like they're all Arabic speaking. None of these people speak English. Like
Wow.
So let's practice a few words. I said, sweetheart, look, you're the one that's anxious. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And they said there, guess what? The audience have all the words I need.
Mm.
So here's how it went down. So I would literally be speaking about fear, and I would say, you need courage. And I'd be like, what's courage? I'd say it in Arabic, and I wouldn't know the word courage. I said, what's courage in Arabic? And they'd say jur'a. I'm like, yes, you need jur'a.
It's like live translation. So incredible. Actually, I think I've done that too when I delivered, a message on stage in Mandarin when I was back in Taiwan also. Because there's certain words that are way more complex, but only two characters in Chinese can explain this whole like paragraph of meaning. And in Chinese, I'm very conscious of when I over blab because that sounds like I don't have my vocabulary.
Don't have that key word, as you said.
Exactly. I just keep circling.
Get across the street.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go back and forth. So yeah, you do have to if you can just get support from the audience because it's cool because they also feel that they've given you something that you can use on stage and they feel proud.
Yeah, and it can be quite funny. It's entertaining for them too. I mean, it could be a self-deprecating experience for you.
Yeah.
It might be difficult with a large crowd. Like you're not gonna deal with thousands of people because ask a question to the audience and be like, come on already. But yeah, in certain settings you can definitely get away with not having the vocab down and not having
Yeah. Yeah, I've explored quite a lot of comedians too. Like I think stand-up comedians are the best at delivering stories and connecting with their audience too, and especially when they're in pressure situations too, they can convert really easily in terms of using the audience.
they can improvise beautifully. I mean, it's magical watching what happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was at Joe Coy's like stand-up when he was incredible.
Oh, wow. We missed him here in Abu Dhabi. We had tickets and he canceled. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. No, but yeah, definitely worth the experience. I think him as a human
Yeah.
being too. Trying to support the Filipino crowd and community is has been incredible. And I feel that's the thing that we're talking about when there's actually something to give back to the community and trying to make like a whole community shine. You become so empowered and you kind of forget about yourself. You become this vessel to just deliver a
For sure.
message, right? And
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
you just think about how difficult it is to let your family member down. Imagine you had a whole community of people that you wouldn't want to let down. I mean, I delivered presentations with gout in my toe. I delivered
Oh,
presentations
wow.
where I was just really unwell, like,
Yeah.
and just there's no thought of not being there. I mean, yeah, if you're on your deathbed, obviously
Yeah, yeah.
you're not gonna be able to leave the hospital or leave wherever you are. But um, just looking at my battery. But definitely, you look, man, here's the deal. There's a saying in Arabic, it's really quite poetic, it's beautiful. And it says that I'll translate it for you. That heaven without people is hell.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true because you know that to punish somebody, you take them away from their family and friends, you stick them in jail with a bunch of strangers. And then if you want to punish that person in jail, you take them away from those relationships and you stick them in
All
solitary
your
confinement.
airline. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the epitome of torture, right?
Yeah.
Is being isolated.
Connections. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, you don't want to be, surrounded by crowds all the time. You need your space, but there's nothing meaningful without people. Like, what
100%.
is all the money, all the cars, all the jets, all the material things gonna do for you if you're the only one on the planet? Like, honestly, what are you gonna drive? What are you gonna do? Drive down the main road and just, or
Just feel good. Like I Am Legend style. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally Will Smith style. Great movie, by the way. But
yeah,
yeah, no, no, totally. I totally agree. It's like things that are worth doing are also worth sharing, I feel. I
yeah,
feel that the more that you gain as an individual, the more that there is to share to other people. And for you, I also think it doesn't take that much effort when you've experienced that already. You're just sharing it as a story, and you never know like what they can benefit out of that story, right? So, but no,
it's all about.
yeah, it's all about like
I was
I
gonna say
think
it's
it's all
all
about
about just
connections.
sharing stories.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
about passing it on, right? Passing
yeah,
it
exactly,
forward or paying it
exactly,
forward.
exactly. So yeah, so um, curious as to I know 4C's DNA is the next big thing for you, and also the movie, if you don't mind sharing a little bit on that too.
Absolutely. So I'm blessed to have my three top mentors in the world that have signed on to be in a movie that I'm doing. We're actually filming this year in May. We start filming in May in Bali, but it's probably gonna the movie will be out next year.
Awesome.
Just to set the record straight.
Sure.
And so Dr. John DeMartini has signed on to be in the movie. As you know, I was in his documentary that won called The Breakthrough that won 30 international film festival awards. Dr. Ivan Meisner signed on to be in the movie. And I shared this on his podcast when I spoke about Fear Forward. And of course, last but definitely not least, Brian Tracy, who most people know from The Psychology of Selling, his time management books, Eat That Frog, etc. He's written 94 books, actually. His goal through.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh man, can't imagine.
Um, yeah, and we have a lot of other lovely individuals that are going to be in the movie. There's still room for others if they want to consider participating. They have to fit the theme and talk to the producers, etc. But they're more than welcome to do that. We can maybe drop that in the show notes.
Yeah, of course, of course. And how can people connect with you on socials?
Yeah, so on all my social media platforms, it's at Inspired Dr. Odie. And on YouTube, it's just Dr. Odie. That's DROUDI.
Fantastic, fantastic. So definitely go check it out, do a follow, and reach out to if you have anything that you feel that you've been inspired in this chat. And definitely it's been an honor connecting with you on the podcast and of course off the podcast. But
Thanks, man.
would love
Likewise,
to,
likewise.
yeah, yeah, it's always a great time and would love to actually meet you in person and do this in person in Abu Dhabi one of these days. Yeah, I think it'll be super fun just to test the weather out on the other side of the planet right now, which is also the other side of the thermometer, which is crazy. Like, how hot does it
And
get?
I'll invite you
Fair.
for a swim if you're interested.
Would love to. Gym swim. I think that's another cool thing that I didn't mention when you first mentioned it, but how you mention it to other people too. And when you constantly just like, index it in your community, and it constantly reminds you too of what you need to do, that it becomes a habit. So
Yeah, what I love to do to become a habit. I don't need to do it. I just love to do it. And
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
might, like I said, might be something else. It might be bike, bike, and then calisthenics.
Yeah, yeah, that is
Something. I'm always changing it up, man. I'm always changing
right.
it up.
Always healthy, always healthy. No, appreciate everything that you shared today. Definitely learned a lot. And again, reach out to Dr. Odie if you have anything that you'd like to connect with him through. But again, an honor, and would love to do this again in the future, Dr. Odie. It was a pleasure.
Sounds great. Either on my side of the pond or yours.
Would love to, would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.